Hey guys, tonight I'm going to do a comparison review on the upcoming Commodore watch, which is the second release from Tempest Watch Company. This follows their highly successful and well-regarded Viking watch, which was released a couple years ago. So here we have both watches, the Viking on the left here and the new Commodore on the right. You'll see that the size is pretty similar. The Commodore measures 44.5 millimeters in width versus the Viking, which is 45. Right away when you pick them up, you'll notice a big difference in weight, and that's because the Commodore is made out of grade 2 titanium, whereas the Viking is made out of 316L stainless steel. Now that means that the Viking weighs 276 grams versus just 143.6 grams on the Commodore, so nearly twice as heavy on the Viking. In terms of thickness, the Commodore is just 14.65 millimeters in thickness versus 17 on the Viking. Now, what that does is provide 2,000 meters of water resistance on the Viking versus 500 on the Commodore. Now, as far as the crystal is concerned, both are sapphire. The Viking actually has an option for a domed crystal. Mine is the standard flat crystal. Both have inner anti-reflective coating. The crystal diameter on the Commodore is slightly larger than that of the Viking. I measure the Commodore's crystal at 34 millimeters versus 32 on the Viking. Now as far as the dial, you'll notice that the Viking has a somewhat deeper black coloration, and that's because it's a somewhat glossy black ceramic dial versus a more satin finish sandwich dial on the Commodore. Let me try and see if you can see the sandwich dial here in the close-up shot. Now, the bezel, both of them have 120 click unidirectional rotating divers bezels. The bezel width on the Commodore is 46 millimeters versus just 45.5 on the Viking. Both of them are about 4 millimeters in thickness. In terms of movement, they both have the same Miyota 9015 automatic movement with a beat frequency of 28,800 VPH. Both are 24 joules with a power reserve of 42 hours. The bracelets, they're both 22 millimeter wide bracelets, but they do feel quite different on the wrist, again because the Commodore is titanium versus stainless steel on the Viking. You'll see that the bracelet construction, the Viking actually looks quite a bit thicker. That's because the Commodore has different thicknesses on the various links, with the center links being thicker than the outer links. The Viking has hex screw construction assembly for all of the links versus standard screwdriver pin and tube system on the Commodore for just the removable links towards the clasp. Now, the clasps are very similar on both watches. Both receive this very excellent ratcheting push button locking clasp with deployant opening. You'll see that you can release it in a similar kind of standard fashion that most dive watch enthusiasts are used to. But in addition to that, for micro adjustment, you can deploy this ratcheting mechanism. In addition, they provide 3 micro adjustment holes on the one side. So it really is a great clasp. It allows you to really size your watch for the perfect fit. And if you need to slightly enlarge your watch during the day, you can make slight adjustments without having to use any tools, which is a great thing to have. As far as similarities between the two watches, one thing that I like about Tempest watches is that they really pay a lot of attention to the detailing on all sides of the case, not just from the front, but you see that the sides also have very interesting detailing. In particular, on the Commodore, if you look at it straight on, you'll notice that the case tapers down slightly as it gets towards the case back. And then with the crown guards, which are actually a separate piece attached to the case, the beveling goes in the opposite direction, which really enhances the visual contrast on this side of the case. The crown is screw down on both watches and deploys very smoothly. There's very little play even at full deployment. So all in all, I think the Commodore represents a really great second design for Tempest, and I'm very impressed with this watch. Now, another watch that I'd like to compare with this watch is the very highly regarded Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean. This is the Planet Ocean 45.5 millimeter XL version with the newer 8500 coaxial chronograph movement. The dimensions are actually very similar. This is 45.5 millimeters, made out of 316L stainless steel. Because of the steel construction, it's quite a bit heavier, 230 grams. The thickness is 17 millimeters versus, again, just over 14.5 for the Commodore. The water resistance is similar with 600 meters on the Planet Ocean versus the 500 on the Commodore. The Omega has a slightly curved sapphire crystal with dual anti-reflective coating. Both of them have ceramic bezel inserts, although the ceramic has been treated differently. It's more polished on the Commodore versus a matte finish on the Planet Ocean. Now, the Planet Ocean has a in-house coaxial 8500 COSC certified movement with a lower beat frequency of 25,500 vibrations per second. They both have 22 millimeter wide bracelets. The Omega does not have a micro adjustable clasp. It's just the standard push button deployant, but it also has a flip out diver's extension. So getting back to the Commodore, again, overall I'm very impressed with this watch. I think the fit and finish is excellent, and in terms of value for the money, it's pretty hard to beat. All right, well, thanks for watching.